Now, of course, the biggest thing in movie news the last month or so has clearly been the formation of DC Studios and them getting their brand new head CEOs, James Gunn and Peter Safran. And they have decided to move fairly quickly. They have decided not to draw this out or leave people waiting in a lurch. They let people know right away that either 90% or 100% or 89%, whatever, they're basically going to be restarting the DCU. And we know that we are not going to have, my boy, my beloved Henry is not going to be our Superman anymore. But it's understandable. It's understandable because the options are keep DC mediocre or restart. There's unfortunately no third option. Just make them better. Sorry, the audience has given up on the DC universe. It's improving. We can sit there and go through the numbers and the facts and the box office results and it's just there. You have to be purposefully sticking your head in the sand not to recognize that you can't just keep things going the way they are. Or just keep everything, but just try to do it better now. No, it's time for a restart, even if that means I got to lose Henry, even if it means that. But there are people, understandably, all things are subjective. And so whereas maybe a lot of the audience haven't liked or connected with DC, there are people who have. And when you have something you like me having Henry, we don't like it when things we like are getting taken away from us. It's human nature. It's understandable, of course. I mean, hopefully, though, I can cry and whine that I'm not going to have Henry as Superman anymore, and yet still take a deep breath and recognize the bigger picture. Well, there is a report that started going around last night. I had no less than 6 or 7 people send me this report, of our own viewers, sending this into me, and I saw it referenced in a couple of places online. And that report was apparently discussing film, reporting that, and you can bring this up, Jonathan, reporting that the fire James Gunn is trending so much right now that Warner Brothers Studios is in talks to fire James Gunn and replace him with someone else much more competent. Much more competent. Now,
that's really good journalism right there.
That's fabulous journalism right now. So this has started going around. Maybe you guys have seen it already yourselves. I wouldn't doubt if you guys have seen it yourself already. I had a bunch of people sending this to me. And it's starting to catch some traction. Again, like I said, a couple other places starting to pick it up, resending it out, all that kind of stuff. And, discussing film is not the Hollywood Reporter. They are not Variety, but they're a pretty good outlet, man. Well, there's a couple of problems here.
A couple.
The first thing I noticed that was a problem, if you have seen this report.
Oh, chat, just wait for it.
Yes, chat's guys.
James Gunn, that Warner Brothers is in talks to fire James Gunn. You have to understand, James Gunn has no boss at Warner Brothers. Nobody can decide to say, except for one person and one person only, David Zaslav. He reports to nobody else. It's not like Kevin Feige's situation in Marvel, where Kevin Feige is head of Marvel, but then he has 3 layers of bosses. Hopefully, Bob Iger is going to start removing those layers. But he's got this manager above him and then this manager above him. Thanks, David Zaslav, or not David Zaslav, Bob Chapek. This manager, then this manager, and then the CEO. So he's got several layers of people above him. James Gunn has nobody he answers to other than David Zaslav himself, who's already made it clear he's going to let James Gunn have carte blanche. Do what you want to do, man. Get my approval for your budgets, but I'm going to let you do what you want to do. So this whole thing, that's the first thing I noticed. What do you mean Warner Brothers Studio is in talks to fire? David Zaslav standing in a mirror, talking to himself? Because there is nobody at Warner Brothers who has the authority to fire James Gunn. That's the first thing I noticed. But guys, here's the main thing. And this is for all of you who saw this report, were wondering about it, sent it to me. I want you to notice something very clearly. While that is Discussing Film's logo, Discussing Film's Twitter is not Discussing Films with an S on the end. It is Discussing Film. And then, of course, you can give yourself whatever handle you want, but your actual Twitter account is under your name, and take a look at that name. I don't know if you have the ability. There it is. Look at the name under Discussing Films. The actual Twitter account is a troll account that is literally @fire_James G. It is not Discussing Film. This is not a real report. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I started to see it proliferate and starting to go around. And we needed to equip you guys with the knowledge of, if you in your circles start seeing the story being passed around, you have the power to pump the brakes on it and let people know, guys, this is a fake report. This is not real. It's whatever. Look at the Twitter account. It is not discussing film. It's some troll account that's done it. Now, that being said, how can something like this spread around? Some image of a tweet spread around quickly without anybody actually reading into it or looking into it. It's because of two things. I mentioned on the John Campea Ask Me Anything yesterday that we, and I include all of us, you as well, you watching the show, you too, us too, all of us, we have the attention span of guppies. We have the attention span of fish. So we live in a culture right now where nobody actually reads the entire articles anymore. They see a headline, they see whatever, and then they start running for it. But the other thing is, and we are all guilty of this, confirmation bias. We all suffer from confirmation bias, which basically means if there's 100 pieces of information out there and 12 of them are pieces of information that seem to support what it is we actually think, those are going to be the 12 things we pay attention to, because it confirms what we think, and we're all guilty of it. We all are. So clearly a bunch of people see this thing about James Gunn trending and everything, and for some people it's confirmation. See there, and they don't bother looking into it, and we're all guilty of it. I'm not pointing fingers at any individuals. We're all guilty of this, but that's another case of this. And that is why we are always telling our audience, guys, don't just read headlines, don't just read tweets, whatever, actually look into it and see what's actually being talked about and discussed. Anyway, the holidays are officially upon us, and it's time to start celebrating. Do your thing and holiday your way with MeUndies, because it's the most wonderful time of the year to try MeUndies, because they're currently offering a very merry deal. Get 20% off your first purchase with free standard shipping and free returns when you go to MeUndies.com/Campea. Guys, you know I've been wearing MeUndies for a while now, because I used to be like everybody else. I would go to the big store, buy the biggest box of the most generic underwear, and I thought that was good enough. But ever since I started MeUndies and started wearing the most comfortable underwear I have ever worn in my life, I swear on this Christmas season, I will never go back. So get your holiday shopping finished early and start making time for yourself with the new MeUndies holiday collection. Their undies, long underwear, and sleepwear are made out of the softest, most supple fabric you've ever felt and are guaranteed to bring you comfort and joy to all of your loved ones. Shop their classic plaid prints for a traditional, picture-perfect style, or get festive with their adventurous limited edition sweater prints. Available in sizes extra small all the way through 4XL, MeUndies has what you need to make all of your favorite people smile this holiday season, all in one convenient place. So to get 20% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/Campea. Chris, you saw this piece of information going around. I don't know. What's your take on this whole thing?
This is why you look at the username. It's not that difficult. And I loved how many people were real worried about you, John, where they were like, John, it's fake. John, no, don't report on it. Stop. No, we know, guys. But I think this is an excellent lesson in doing your due diligence, right? And also, I know I made a joke about it, but a reputable media outlet isn't going to make a stake like putting someone more competent into their headline. If they're going to say something like that, too, it's going to be a quote from someone else, from some unnamed source. Good journalists remove themselves from things. They don't put their own opinion in. I mean, that's why all of us here are pundits, right? Because we're all just farts in the wind talking about our own opinions. None of us
proclaim to be journalists.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're all just saying our thoughts and feelings on things. We're not giving you hard-hitting news. But this is why you always just need to double-check the sources, see who's actually saying things, because so many people just spread nonsense around. And also, he hasn't even started. So, like, what are you talking about? He's got to do his job.
It might be a little hard finding the real journalists on Twitter because Elon Musk has been suspending all the real journalists.
Very true. Oh, what a hellscape.
But he reversed that. He reversed that. Anyway.
For now.
Rob, you saw this thing. Listen, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this.
No.
But, I mean, it just kind of points to the fact that it's not hard for a fake piece of news to start running again. Rob, I remember a few years ago, this was before Batman versus Superman came out. Somebody put on Reddit, I believe it was Reddit, it might have been Dig before, I can't remember, one of those two sites. And there was an image where it looked like a frame from a trailer where it said, Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, Part 1, and then the second one was Batman vs Superman, Enter the Night, or something like that. And everybody's like, "Oh, there it is!" It's like some rando person made something on Photoshop, plopped it on, and everybody ran with it. But so we've seen this before. This won't be the last time. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the thing that really bothers me is like James Gunn is one of us. Like he's a guy that has done nothing but give people in our community, people that love science fiction, fantasy, horror, superhero movies, he's done nothing but give us joy, for the better part of 2 decades. And it's strange to me to see that him and Peter Safran, it's not like you're getting a bunch of guys that haven't delivered. But Peter Safran, between the comic book films he's been involved with and the Conjuring universe, has brought people nothing but great stuff. Annabelle creation is way better than it has any right to be. And James Gunn, same thing. And here these two guys they're given the keys to the kingdom to be the architects of a brand new DC universe, planning from the beginning. And I am perplexed by the hatred that he is receiving from us, from our own, and I include me included. I'm like, here's this thing I have wanted to see, a plan, John, a plan. Guys who come in that are tasked with making a plan, not a plan for the next year, but a plan for the next decade, a plan for the entire DC universe moving forward cinematically. That's what I want the most, is authorship and planning and a point of view. And we're getting that. And why are we bitching? Why are people trying to discredit James Gunn when all he's ever done is try to give everybody the coolest stuff possible?
Well, we know why. Because
it's not what I wanted.
if you to build something new, and I get this, we all understand this. To build something new, you first must remove what was.
Yes, of course.
And there are people, I'm one of them, by the way, who really liked what was. The problem is, we who liked what was have to acknowledge, and we refuse to acknowledge, a lot of us, that there are a lot of people who didn't love what was.
Right.
And they're not going to get on board with it magically now. And so James Gunn is the way some people are looking at it, and I get it. They're looking at that James Gunn steps in, and the first thing he has done is take away something they love. And that's going to be hard for some people. That's going to be hard for some people.
I understand that. And I love Henry Cavill too, but there was no contract. There was no film. It's not like there was a Superman movie that got canceled.
Right.
They didn't have a movie. They brought
It's
Cavill
not a
back.
Batgirl situation.
No, they brought Cavill back for a cameo, which was very cool. And I love Henry Cavill Superman, and I would love to have seen Man of Steel 2 or whatever. But we did get 3 Henry Cavill Superman movies. There is a trilogy there, just like there's a trilogy of Christian Bale movies. It exists. And the fan community, one of the great triumphs of fandom ever is Zack Snyder's Justice League, to get that movie the money to have HBO Max finish it and put it out. That's the most epic win since Star Trek was revived for a 3rd season by a letter writing campaign for the 68-69 season, has fandom triumphed as much as they did with the Zack Snyder Justice League.
By the way, I'm so glad you just said that, because I was getting ready to read a comment with one of our live viewers. Hank Hopper was just asking, Rob, how does this situation relate to Star Trek?
Well,
and I was getting ready to bring that up, and then you brought it home, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but I mean, that was a fan letter writing campaign that saved a season of Star Trek. Now, Fred Freiberger was brought in to produce, and Gene Roddenberry's role was diminished, and the season's not that great, but we still got it. I would say that Zack Snyder's Justice League was much better than I even thought it could have been, and it's an epic win. And it's like, and Henry Cavill's going to now do his dream job. Zack Snyder's creating his own universe over at Netflix. So all of these creators that everybody is supporting are doing great work. They're getting to do things that they wanted to do. It should just be a party, a celebration. And I, for one, can you imagine if Ben Affleck gets to come back and direct a Batman movie?
Fun.
If they are doing what they're saying they're doing, and Ben Affleck wants to come and direct a new DC film, it can be any. I mean, especially if it's Batman. Yeah. But it can be any DC movie.
Yes.
I'm going to absolutely lose my mind. But here's the problem. James Gunn is going to face, and is already facing, the same complication that David Zaslav is, right? Because you disassemble things very, very quickly. You build things very, very slowly. So the first thing we're going to see with both David Zaslav and with James Gunn is what they cancel, what they remove, and what they take away. And then we just got to sit with that for a year and a half until we actually get to see what they create. So it's going to be interesting as we go.
I think their announcement. They're gonna make an announcement. He said after the first
January,
year,
February, yeah.
We're gonna hear their announcement, and I think it's going to be ambitious, and I think it's going to be exciting. And this is not me being some Warner Brothers shill. It's just I'm always excited.
I thought the internet word was that we hated Warner Brothers. At least that's what I got from people
Apparently.
for like 6 years.
Yeah.
Oh, but I've always loved Warner Brothers.
I'm
Although
a Disney sycophant, says my DMs.
I don't like the way Warner Brothers has bogarted the MGM library for their 100th anniversary, but that's a different story. But I do like what's going on, and I think, John, we are going to get something to be very excited about as fans.
All right, guys. Question is for you. This will not be the last time we see stuff like this. And again, all of us, there's no one particular person guilty of this. We are all guilty of this. Confirmation bias, as ridiculous as something goes up, people will take it, people run with it. Be discerning in what information you see. Look into it a little bit. Anyway, guys, questions for you. What did you think about this whole thing? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.